The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Gerard with episode number 32 of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network, a random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. Listen in.
Hello, Fresh Mixers. That's right, I just gave you guys a name. Welcome back to Florida's Fresh Mix podcast. My name is Amber, and I'm the lead content producer of the Florida Podcast Network. With me, as always, is Gerard, aka the host of the show. What's good, Gerard?
What's good is that you just came up with Fresh Mixers. I love that. I'm just mad that I didn't come up with it myself. But
our fans have a name.
Exactly. No, that's great. I love it. I love it. Well done.
Well, I'm just trying to stay on brand, which is basically the entire conversation between you and our guest today. She was staying on brand like it was second nature. Like
it's her calling, basically.
Literally. Our guest today is none other than Candace Giunta. She is the co-owner of Wiseguys Barbershops, which is in Port Charlotte, Florida. And the greatest thing about this barbershop, aside from their professionalism and great service, amazing barbers and hairdressers, this barbershop is like an entire homage to mafia and mobster culture. She refers to it as a mafia museum. And I love that Candace dives into all things mafia and just at the core of it, how it's mainly about family. That's what Candace and her husband and co-owner, Louie, that's what they're all about. They are a dynamic duo, to say the least. Louie handles all marketing and branding, while Candace is the master barber behind the chair.
Master shears.
Yes. What'd you think of this one, Gerard?
The first word that comes to mind is fun. I mean, just so fun. And also just dedication to the theme of it's much more than just the name of the barbershop and putting some pictures on a wall. They went all in this gangster Cosa Nostra motif. And she's the way she explains how this came to be and all the dynamics of their shop, the community that it fosters. It's just so much fun. And it's just very inspiring to anyone that wants to, do something that they make money and do something that they love. Or you could think about it backwards. Do something you love and you make money as a byproduct, and you can, pay your bills and make a living as a byproduct of something that you love. This is another great example of that. But it's so light and fun, and her personality is effervescent. And I loved every second of it.
I completely agree. They totally live out as if it's their own lifestyle, this mafia, mobster, Sicilian, New York ways. And it's so cool. And you guys kind of touched on this a little bit in the conversation, but there's so many New Yorkers who flock to Florida, whether it's permanently or just for
tell me
the
about
season. It. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you know.
we call them snowbirds. And as you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm not too thrilled about it, but
neither am I, Gerard. I mean, if you live in Florida, if you've been living in Florida, you know who they are, and you might be one of them, and that's okay. As much as we roll our eyes at you behind your backs, we really do love you. So keep coming to Florida.
Yeah, we still love you. We're just kind of halfway kidding.
Yeah. But if you are in the Port Charlotte area, Wiseguys Barbershops is totally up your alley. You might feel right at home, which is like such a huge stereotype. I'm like actually thinking all these New Yorkers are into mafia and like mobster life and all that.
Most people are into beer. You don't even have to get a haircut. Stop by and get some beer and watch some mafia movies. But I would suggest that you tip your waitress.
For sure. I'm really excited for the listeners to hear about that whole section of the conversation of how at Wiseguys Barbershops, they give free beer. Like who, what,
That's
like,
crazy.
Yeah, isn't it? Before we get into this great conversation, let's just talk about Podfest for a second. If you listen to our last episode, that last episode came out the first day of Podfest, which Gerard producer Jaime and myself, we all went to, with also some other FPN hosts, like the host of Florida Man News, Joel Lowndes, as well as the two hosts of Techsploration, Craig and David. So it was a nice meeting slash, I don't even want to say reunion because we've all never met in person, but fun times nonetheless.
There's nothing like meeting in person, and it was really great meeting you for the first time, Amber, my loyal and highly effective, skilled, talented producer, and your boyfriend, and just meeting these other guys on the other podcasts under the FPN umbrella. With the guys with Techsploration, we interviewed them in a past episode, and then these other guys that I had heard about so much, like Joel from Florida Man News, et cetera, and his lovely wife. I mean, it was just great to just hang out. And the vibe at PodFest, let me tell you, podcasting is all about positivity, okay? It was all about people lifting each other up, and it was a fantastic vibe.
Absolutely. And yeah, it was great meeting you too, Gerard. Seriously, I mean, we do these recording sessions weekly, sometimes twice a week, and we've never met in person. So it's cool to put our face to the voice, if you will. But yeah, it was great meeting you. And I met Jojo, producer Jemmy's son, who was this ball of energy and super smart. Oh my goodness. I was like impressed. Everything he said, even if it was a little goofy, everything he said, I was like looking at my boyfriend like, this kid's going to run the world.
and the dance floor.
Yeah.
he was tearing it up. No, it was great all around.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's jump back into the mix. Let's take a listen to Candace Giunta's conversation of Gerard. Like I said, she is the co-owner of the one, the only Wiseguys Barbershops.
Bada bing. Okay, today we're talking with Candace Giunta, one of the co-founders of the Wiseguys Barbershop and the co-owner of Cosa Nostra Grooming Products. And you're probably sensing a theme here. Candace is out of Port Charlotte, Florida. Florida in the house. How's it going, Candace?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to hear more about this unique people have barbershops, but you've got a unique theme to it. And it seems like it creates a unique environment that you and your husband, Louie, have built. And I'm looking forward to discussing that as well as many other things. So first of all, let me ask you a very stupid question. Okay. I can probably guess what the difference is between a barber and a hairstylist. I know that you're dual licensed in both, but for people out there, what is the actual difference?
We get this question all the time, actually. Mm-hmm. So the difference is the ability to use a straight razor.
Oh,
that's it.
Then that means I would have guessed wrong completely.
Yeah. So a licensed barber can use a straight razor. And actually, in the state of Florida, this isn't for every state. I have licenses in 3 different states. I have one in Colorado, one in New Mexico, and one here. In New Mexico, this doesn't apply. In Colorado, it applies. Florida, it applies. But a licensed cosmetologist, which is a hairstylist, can use a straight razor on the back of the neck and on the head, to do a straight razor head shave. But they cannot use it on the front of the neck. A licensed barber can use it on the front of the neck. Our haircut techniques are different. In cosmetology, you learn like one men's haircut and the rest is like color and women's haircut. In barbering, you learn one women's haircut and all men's haircuts. Okay,
interesting. So, but you can do it all.
I can do everything. I'm licensed in hair, skin, nails, master barber, you name it.
Okay. All right. So you got crazy skills. All right. Excellent. So I'm talking to the right person. So now let's get an understanding of your path to Florida, because, on this podcast, we're talking to, movers and shakers in our wonderful and crazy state. I know that you grew up in an extremely small town, 700 people in Colorado. Really? That's it? And your high school only had 13 people?
Well, 698 residents.
Okay, I was way off.
In my hometown where I grew up, and I had 13 graduates. So the school is actually preschool through 12th grade, like 350 something kids. And yeah, I had 13 in my graduating class.
That's unbelievable. I thought that my school, I mean, I went to private school. I thought that I had my graduating class had 147. I thought that was really tiny. But you originally are from New Mexico. Is that where you get half of your background? Because I know you're half Italian, which will explain a lot of what we're going to talk about. But does the New Mexico upbringing explain the other half?
Yes, I am half Spanish and a little bit of native. Yep, I am a New Mexican. And you know what's, that's what they call us, a New Mexican. What's really interesting is here in Florida, I feel like a unicorn because no one's ever met a New Mexican.
You know, it's interesting. I was just coincidentally, I've been thinking about that only recently. I mean, I lived in Florida, basically my whole life. And it's only that I'm going back and watching like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. And this is really like my only exposure to like, New Mexico and whatever is just up, based on this fictional show. It forces me to think about how little I know about so many different parts of the country, New Mexico in particular. How old were you when you moved from there? Did you move from New Mexico directly to Colorado?
I've been back and forth to New Mexico and Colorado my first 20 years. We moved to Colorado, then I moved back to New Mexico, moved back to Colorado, moved back to New Mexico. And you know what? When people ask me, what's New Mexico like? I say, have you ever seen Breaking Bad? And they go, yeah. I go, that's New Mexico. It's just like that. I mean, there are some pretty parts of the state. And it's very family oriented. I think I'm related to everybody in New Mexico in some form or way. It's a unique breed.
Right. Understood. And I love delving into people's background more surgically, if I may, and because I know that you're half Italian, but do you know what specific part of Italy? And when you say that you're half Hispanic, what specific country can we get more specificity on both sides? I'm just very curious.
Yeah. So on my great grandmother, she came from Italy, Milan, and her last name was Ramboni. And then she married my great grandfather, Armenta, which he was from Spain. And so if I look back at like my family tree, because they have everybody, they lived at like near Pavalonia is where my family came from. So like near the French and the Spanish Alps. And then my mom's parents, my grandfather, my mom's dad came from Mexico. So that's where some of the Native American, like the Apache comes from. And that's pretty much it. Like it's mostly Spanish and Italian. And then my husband is full Sicilian.
Okay, understood. And so there seems to be a through line between your having been the only Hispanic person in your high school when you were in Colorado and kind of how that translated into you eventually becoming a barber. It seems like there's a story there, but I'd like to have you tell it rather than have me suppose. And by the way, I can relate because up until my freshman year of high school, I was the only Black kid I had ever seen in school. So I feel you.
Yeah, well, I did grow up in a very small mountain town in Colorado. So everybody knows your business. Everybody knows what you're doing. I was very different. I was probably the most olive-skinned kid up there. My mom spoke fluent Spanish. My grandparents spoke Spanish. I was bullied a lot in middle school and high school because I was so different. I was very, outgoing, always wanted to be in theater and stuff. And people looked down on me because of that. Never understood the reasons why. So when I was in high school, I wanted to be a police officer. I had some uncles that were police officers and stuff like that. But I decided to go to beauty school. Well, first of all, my senior year I was on my own. Okay, so I rented a small room from a friend and I worked in the casino during the day and then was able.
I'm sorry, what do you mean it was on your own? What do you mean?
I had no parents my senior year.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
My parents were, my mom was a drug addict. Mm-hmm. And my dad hadn't been around since I was like 13. He was just kind of non-existent and found out later it was due to my mom. But So my senior year, I lived on my own in this small little town that I grew up in. And I had gum in my hair twice senior year. Like someone threw gum in my hair. And I just wanted to get through school really quickly. It's a tiny town. Everybody knows your business. So instead of going to be a police officer, I decided to go to beauty school because, for one, I didn't have my parents to sign off on any kind of like loans or, to be my co-signer or actually lead the way on what I'm supposed to do. And beauty school was something that my counselor had gave me and said, you don't need your parents to sign for this. You can do this all on your own. And I was like, wow, I could really learn how to make myself pretty so I can go on like Maury Povich and be like, look at me now, bitch. because I had no friends, and I never understood why nobody liked me. And I really struggled in high school to like fit in. And so that's why I went to beauty school, is I really wanted to learn how to make myself what people like me.
And also a little bit of what you said, a little bit of kind of personal revenge. Like, the whole look at me now thing. I get that. I can only imagine what that must have been like for you. But look, it brought you to where you are now, right? I mean, that's... Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, someone that I went to high school with, she works at the school we went to school at, and she texted me last year and she goes, "You're on the All-Star wall." I was like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're on the All-Star wall here at the alumni in the hallway." And I go, "How did that happen?" I go, "I don't even own a yearbook because I was voted nerd of the class. So I don't even."
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, "How did I get on the All-Star wall?" And she's
First of all, it's kind of cruel that there's a nerd of the class. I mean, I consider myself a nerd in a positive way, and many people do now, but it wasn't, I don't know. Do you think that had a negative connotation or?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm an 80s baby, so in our yearbook, there was, best smile, most likely to succeed. Right. And nerd of the class. So I don't even own a yearbook. And she's like, "Yeah, you're on the All-Star wall." I'm like, "How did that happen?" And she's like, "Candace, because out of 13 of us graduates, you're one of the most successful."
That's amazing. Look how things turn out.
I know.
I know you also worked at a casino around the same time. So how did you, not only does it show your perseverance because you're working, you're doing two things at once, but what were you doing at the casino?
Well, I had been working. It's a small casino town in Colorado. That's all there is casinos. It's like a little mining town that has 32 casinos in a 2-mile radius. And we have more bars than we have people, I think. And I had worked in the casino since I was 14 years old. Wow. I worked for the same casino for 16 years. So I started off in the restaurant until I was about 18 years old. I moved into cocktailing. And back then, so we didn't have any tables at that casino. It was a family-owned small casino. You could cocktail because you're not accepting poker chips. So then right about the time I turned 21, they started adding tables. And so I actually became the bar supervisor. So I bartended and I cocktailed all the way until I was in my late 20s for the same casino. They're still my family. They're still a part of who I am. They taught me customer service. They taught me the importance of VIP. They taught me how to hustle, and they were family. They sent me to American Idol.
I was going to ask you about that towards the end, but okay.
They were family for sure. And they supported everything that I did.
Well, it sounds like it's like a school of hard knocks. I mean, you not only learn how to, be like the quintessential, independent woman, but you're also learning life lessons that you can't learn in the classroom, in that kind of environment, as I can imagine. So it's leading me to kind of get a feeling for how you got your entrepreneurial spirit. I'm trying to figure out the timeline here. So what came first, Louie or you starting working at your cousin's barbershop?
Okay, not Louie. So let me back up a little bit. So
Okay.
when I was in high school, my senior year, where I shared a room in this house, I shared a room which was now currently my ex-husband. Like he had a room next to me, and he went to the same school and stuff like that. And when I was 19, we got married. Okay, so that was my ex-husband. We got married. So I married my high school sweetheart pretty much. He worked in the casinos as well. We had 3 children. I had 1 daughter, and then 4 years later had a set of twins. I was always trying to get him to like better our lives. Like, oh, maybe you should go be an officer. He worked at the casinos as well. Everybody worked at the casinos. Maybe you should, go take the HVAC classes the casino wants you to do. And he was always just like making excuses. He was content on where he was at. When I, was going to beauty school, I was working at the casino. When I finished beauty school, I opened up a shop next to the casino so I could work both. I would open up the shop during the day, work at the casino at night. I did American Idol, which we can talk about that later. And I was always doing something. And so I was always feeling like I was leaving him behind. I felt like I could run circles around him. And I was running circles around him. So eventually, we separated after like 12 years being together. We grew apart is exactly what it was. We grew apart. My cousin's barbershop, my ex-husband and I had moved to New Mexico at one point in our lives to be closer to my family. And that's where I had my cousins. I have 3 cousins. They're identical triplets, Dominic, Damien, and Derek.
That's
and
great.
They had a barbershop called 3D Cuts.
Your family is all about multiplicity, it sounds like.
Yes. Yes. I'm one of 125 grandchildren of 5 generations.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. My great grandparents had 18. So my cousins had this barbershop, and I was working at like one of those fast cut places. I think it was like Fantastic Sam's or something like that. I had just been only out of beauty school for like a year. And they approached me and they said, hey, guys are wanting to get like their eyebrows waxed, and, they want texture in their hair and highlights. And, we don't really do that stuff. How do you feel about coming and working at our shop and doing some of that stuff? And we'll teach you how to do fades. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. So
at that time, were there any women that were working at their shop, or you had been the first one? I was the first one.
Okay.
Well, I could see some benefits of that as well, but
Yep. And they did Oscar de la Hoya.
Wow.
He was one of their regular clients. So I would wax his eyebrows. I would shampoo him because, it just, to have a female shampoo you is, I think it feels better. It's more comfortable. And we know eyebrows. And I would show the guys how to like texture hair and use product, because the guys didn't know how to use product. And I'm like, most of these haircuts here for texture, they need product. So that's kind of what I would do, is they would do the fade, and they would send them to me, and I would wash the hair, clean up their eyebrows with the wax, put some product in, style them, make them look good on their way out.
Good.
That was kind of my job there. And, when I moved back to Colorado, of course I left there. And now they're still in business, and they are the official barbers of the MMA.
Wow. Unbelievable. Good for them. So now how do we get from there to you branching out, and why did you come to Florida?
Okay. Well, so I met Louie after my divorce. Louie had one of the biggest country honky tonks in Colorado.
Okay.
And I had never been to a nightclub before, because I had been married since I was, 19 years old, children at a young age, in a tiny little mountain town, so my girlfriend took me to his club. I fell in love with it, and I was there all the time.
Wait a second. You didn't go to a club until you were what age?
24, 25.
See, for someone who grew up in South Florida, that makes my brain explode. But
yeah, my girlfriend was a cocktail waitress at the casino that I worked at. And she's like, woman, you got to come with me to this nightclub. And I was like, I've never been to a nightclub. And she's like, oh my God, you will love it. I go, I don't like the kind of music you like. And she's like, no, they have country music. And I was like, wait, what are you doing at a country club? She goes, no, they play both. And I was like, what? She's like, let me take you. And, said I'm divorced. I was like, all right, I'll go with you. And I had the time of my life that I was there every weekend, just like learning who I was, letting loose, dancing, talking to people.
Well, you had some catching up to do, girl. I mean,
I did. And it's quite interesting because Louie had came up to me and one night at the club and he's like, hey, ladies, can I buy you a drink? And I was like, no, I'm good. And he's like, what, you don't drink? And I was like, no, I got to drive home. And he's like, well, we have limo drivers. We can get you a cab. Like, we can make sure we get you home. And I knew he was the manager because I had seen him. I've seen him on the floor. I saw the suit, everything. I mean, I know customer service working in the casinos, and so I was like, nah, well, I live all the way up in Central City, which was an hour and 25 minutes from his club. And he's like, wait a minute, you drive all the way down here to go to my club from Central City? And I was like, yeah. And I go, this place is awesome. And I gave him my card. I said, look, do you ever come to the casino? And he's like, yeah, I come to the casino. I was like, here's my card. If you're ever up there, you need a table or, a place to stay. I'm sure we can get you a comp for a room, whatever you need, just let me know. And he goes, wait a minute, this is a beauty shop card. And I said, yeah, I own the beauty shop next to the casino, but I don't expect you to drive an hour and a half to get a haircut. And after that, we would just talk more and more. And we just got closer and closer. And I think it's because we both had that entrepreneur mindset. And, we both knew
I prefer mine.
What it takes to take care of your customers. Yeah. You should hear the words that come out of my mouth. And we were both in the entertainment industry. So we just hit it off after that. Every time I'd see him, we would talk and, we would talk about business and what it takes to be successful. And, and now 15 years later, here we are. And we dated for a good 5 years in Colorado, 5 or 6 years in Colorado. And he wanted to move to Florida. He was leaving the nightclub industry. And he had some neck injuries and stuff. And he's like, I want to move where it's warmer. The cold is killing me. And I was like, let's go. He goes, you're going with me? I'm like, yeah, let's go. I love change.
Sounds like you're ride or die and not impulsive, but, spur of the moment. You're just ready to take whatever life throws at you and just ready for a new adventure. You're good like that.
I am. I embrace change. I'm very grateful for meeting Louie. I think it was definitely destiny. We talk about it all the time saying, one thing about us is we didn't have to love each other. We had no kids. We couldn't have any more kids. We had nothing that was binding us, but just enjoying each other's company.
So now tell me how you and Louie ended up coming together and creating this baby called Wiseguys Barbershops. How did that happen? Because he doesn't have a background in, doing hair or anything like that. So how did that all come together?
So we moved to Florida because of his neck injury and disability and stuff like that. So he went into consulting, like consulting for nightclubs, bars, restaurants. And it was called Wiseguys Consultants because Louie is first generation American. His father is from Sicily. And Louie grew up in Brooklyn. And so he always, he's very big about his Sicilian culture. And so he had this Wiseguys Consultants, and he really didn't do too much with it just because he was in and out of surgeries all the time, trying to recover and stuff. And we had moved to Florida, and I just went and worked at just some little barbershop in town. I found a little barbershop in town. I was like, I'm just going to go work over here. And if I need more money, I'll go bartend at some tiki bar, so that's how the first 4 years went is I actually grew really fast at the barbershop that I was working at, not knowing anybody in town. I grew really fast and I was their number one barber. And after 4 years of being in business with them, I didn't like the way that they were dealing with community. Now, I come from a very small town. And they would tell me, Candace, be careful what you say around here. It's a small town. And I'm like, this isn't a small town. Don't talk to me about what a small town is. And if you knew how small of a town was, you would be more involved in the community because that's what we do in small towns. Well, they didn't want to be involved in the community very much. And that's not how I roll. So I found myself being unhappy. I've always said that I feel bad for the people that bang their head on the steering wheel before they go into their job. I always have said that. And I found myself at the end of working with them that's what I was doing.
Right. Or like I always tell people, like when that alarm clock goes off in the morning, there's this, and I've been there, there's this sense of dread where you have to like compose yourself. You're like, man, I've really got to go back into this, storm.
Yeah. Like if you have to talk yourself into going into work or something that you love doing, there's a problem, So I had approached them and, told them that I was unhappy. I was ready to hang up my clippers. I was ready to throw on the bikini top and hit a tiki bar. That's where I was at. I don't know if it was feeling burnt out or if it just wasn't feeling right. I still can't put my finger on how I was feeling at that time. I just knew I was very unhappy, and things weren't changing. And when they had approached me and said, why do you care about your customers so much?
They actually said that?
Yeah. And they go, why do you care about your customers so much? And I'm like, well, first of all, like I shop with these people at the grocery store. My kids play cheer for the Pop Warner football team. I do karaoke at the karaoke bar where all these people go. I was like, these people are important. This is my community. It's a small town, like you say, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. So I put in my resignation letter and I said, now what am I going to do? And Louie said, well, Louie's daughter, which is my stepdaughter, she was in beauty school at the time. Ever since she met me, she wanted to be just like me. So she was a senior in high school and she was also in beauty school at the same time. And he goes, what are we going to do when my daughter gets out of beauty school? Are we going to send her to go work with you at that barbershop? And I was like, no, I don't want her to work there. And he goes, then we need to make our own place so that she has a place to go.
I'm just very confused because, when you think of, at least for me, when I think of barbershops, I think that of some of the special charm of barbershops is, the sense of community, the sense of family, the sense, the banter. I mean, when I see a movie called Barbershop, right, it's all about that. Like it's about, coming together. And I mean, I can envision people coming in, not even to get their hair cut, but just to kind of, hang out and just talk about what's going on in people's lives and people coming together, and particularly in a small town. So the mentality of people asking you, like, why do you care so much about your clients just seems to be so in opposite to the way I vision, most, the barbershop culture to be. I mean, am I romanticizing the barbershop culture, or is that kind of what you felt as well?
Well, I always thought that's the way it was supposed to be. But it's a facade. If you know what I mean? Like that's not how all barbershops are. And we can get into that later, but like you're losing people all the time. People are always moving. They always think the grass is greener on the other side. But anytime I've ever worked anywhere, I've worked for a family, and it felt like family, whether it be the casino, whether it be my cousin's barbershop in New Mexico, or whether it be where I worked here in Florida, but I feel like they get too big for their britches, and then they get that corporate mindset. Cause that's exactly what it was. They brought in a partner that came from the T-Mobile corporate world. And that's exactly what he said to me.
Right. There you go.
Okay. And so when that happened, Louie's like, that's it. We'll put you in a chair rental and we'll see where it goes and we'll start over. And that was a scary moment because I took a huge pay cut. Right. I took from, making good money to zero.
But that's
you know?
the typical risk of entrepreneurialism, and that is it's a common theme on this show with many of our guests, and that is the fear that people have to address. You have to know, how am I going to pay my bills, and how am I going to make decisions? At the end of the day, it's ultimately my decision making that's going to define my own success, and it is scary. But now look at where you are now. Let's inspire some people. So how did you get the name? How did things, was it a rough start at first? How did things, because I know how the story ends, because it ends with things are pretty dope right now. So
yes.
tell me, how did it start? What's the reality?
All right. So I went and I got me a barber chair. I drove like 3 hours to get a barber chair. And I found this little chair rental, like where I can rent a space at a salon across the street from my house that looked like a mermaid threw up in it. That's literally what it looked like. It was like seafoam green, seashells, old ladies' clothes.
I can picture it.
Old ladies working in there. Yeah. But it was the only place I could find decent price to rent because, for one, I had no clients. Even though I'm in a small town and I was their number one barber where I worked, I refused to take their client list. A lot of people will take the client list. Did I have access to it before I quit? Yes, I did. But one thing Louie had told me, he goes, if we're going to do this, if we're going to go out on your own and try and make something of you and for my daughter and make a place for us, build our own legacy, we have to do it with integrity. Mm-hmm. And he goes, and the only way we can do that is we cannot steal their client list because that's bad karma. He goes, they found you once, they will find you again. He goes, I am in marketing. I guerrilla marketed the nightclubs, and that's what made us so successful. So he goes, I'm going to guerrilla market you. He goes, we're going to put you out there in the community. We're going to have you do events. I'm going to have you bartend at some local bars so that you can find your clients. You're going to hand out your cards to every single person, and we're going to call it Wiseguys. I was like, we're going to call it what? And he goes, we're going to call it Wiseguys. I go, why would we call it Wiseguys? I go, why don't you just say, hair by Candace? He goes, how many people do you know that have hair by Candace? He goes, everybody. You always say hair by Sarah, hair by James. He's like, no, we need to give you something that's going to grab people's attention. And he goes, and there's so many New Yorkers moving here to Florida. There are so many Italians in our area. He goes, I already own Wiseguys Consultants. He goes, so I suggest we call it Wiseguys. I mean, you're going to do men's hair or you're going to do women's hair, honey? I said, well, I'm going to do men. I don't like to do women's hair. He goes, then we're calling it Wiseguys. I go, even if I'm working in a place that looks like a mermaid threw up in it. He goes, yeah, we're going to brand it from the beginning.
I love what I'm hearing because this is something that I love to focus on and drill down on. You know how to cut hair. He knows how to market. You guys have a partnership and you've got your synergies. And synergy is about, making something greater than the sum of its parts. And that's exactly what happened. So he took his strength, you took your strength, and boom, there you go. With Wiseguys, it's an attention grabber as far as, being a barbershop. And, the first thing you hear is the name. So, continue to tell me about how that partnership has worked and how it evolved into you having your own shop.
All right. Well, I was in this little booth chair, this little chair rental, and I was open 9 to 7, 5 days a week and 9 to 5 on Saturdays. And Louie wouldn't even let me come home for lunch. He would bring me lunch. And I'm like, I have had like maybe 7 people today and I'm here for 10 hours. And he's like, if you are not there and someone shows up, you're going to lose that person. So he would make me stay there and he would market me like crazy. For instance, he actually took over my social media completely because I would be sitting there all day, not doing anybody. And then I would go on Facebook and, post, hey, do you have gray hair? Do you feel old? Do you want to blend in those grays? Guess what? We do men's gray blending. And then he would call me and be like, no, you can't do that. And he would change it and go, want to join the witness protection program? Get your hair blended. And then before you know it, I'd have like 7 guys in my chair going, I'm here for the witness protection program.
That is brilliant. Oh my God. That is,
so
funny.
He's like, that's it. You can't be in charge of posting. I will post for you. So I would sit there and then they would come in and they'd be like, yeah, I'm here for the witness protection program. I'm like, what is that? I got to a point where I was only at that shop for like 4 or 5 months to where the owner was pretty much kicking me out. She's like, there are too many men waiting here and it's making all my ladies feel uncomfortable.
Oh, so you're a victim of your own success.
Yes. And so she was like, maybe it's time to find your own place. So what I did is I spoke to Louie and he goes, all right, what do you want to do? He goes, are you good or are you not good? And I go, well, what do you mean by that? He goes, okay, there's either you're good, like I'm good. I'm fine with where I'm at, or oh no, I'm not good. I could always be better. He goes, because if you're good, I'll take down the barbershop flag and you could probably squeeze all your clients in 3 or 4 days. We stop marketing and you just, do your 3-4 days of cutting hair. He goes, or if you're not good, we go rent a spot and we grow. And I told him, I said, all right, look, remember when The Voice had auditions in South Beach like 4 years ago?
I do not.
Okay. Well, The Voice was doing auditions in Miami near South Beach, like downtown. And I told him, I said, look, I am auditioning for The Voice again. I said, so let's go to Miami, audition for The Voice. If I don't make it, we'll open up a barbershop. So we went to Miami, auditioned for The Voice. I did not make it past first audition. So we came back and we looked at spots. And within a week, we had the keys in hand for a small spot on the frontage road. And I worked behind the chair at that little salon while Louie built out the place. He would not let me do anything. He had the whole design in mind. He knew exactly how he wanted to design it. He wanted to make it look like a mafia museum. And on April 2nd, the day after April Fools, we opened up Wiseguys in our own spot. And it was me and one other girl part-time. And my daughter was interning because she was still in beauty school and high school. And I had a customer that sat in my chair the first week. And I love sharing this story because I talk about him all the time. I share this story to all my clients that are new. He came in and he goes, wow, this is a really nice place. You guys did a really good job with this place. I like it. He goes, it's the end of the season, right? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, like, you guys are opening in April, like everybody's going home. I go, and your point is? I'm just saying nothing survives this summer. And now he can't even get an appointment with me unless he books like 3 weeks in advance.
Wow. And from what I understand, decorating the place wasn't an issue because Louie had a ton of stuff to contribute. Am I right?
Yes. So Louie has always, because of his Italian culture, his Sicilian culture, and always being into mafia movies like The Godfather, he can quote it word from word because that's his dialect. So he sounds like he's in the movie. His cousin was in The Godfather. His cousin played Pussy's son, Giancarlo Giunta, which is my stepson's name.
Right. I remember vividly.
Yeah. And so he's always had like a bunch of mafia merch, gangster movie merch, Italian mafia stuff, Godfather, Goodfellas, all that in boxes, but never really had any place to like hang them, in the house. So he took them all out of boxes and he decorated the entire shop that way. He
great.
Made the waiting room look like your grandma's living room, like his grandma's living room, except for the plastic on the couch. Mm-hmm. He made it very Italian-like, Brooklyn-like. He took all the family photos of, filming The Sopranos, all his family photos in Brooklyn, family photos of us when we were in Sicily, and just decorated the shop with them.
You guys have gone all in on this whole mafia motif. So like, your haircuts have mafia names, and
all our haircuts have mafia names. Yeah. So, I mean, Louie will tell you there's no shame in his branding game. We have brand this Wiseguys Barbershop so much that we live it fully every day. Right now, I'm wearing a shirt that says Mob Wife.
What are some of your more popular haircuts and their names? I'm curious.
Well, there's the Wiseguys treatment, which is a haircut and a shave, because we do the hot towel shaves with a straight razor and a steamer.
Right. That's straight out of the movies.
Yep. There's the Carmine, which is named after my father-in-law, and that's pretty much the senior cut. There's the executive cut, which is called, he's going to kick my butt for this. We have the guma, which is haircut and beard trim. We have the Goodfellas. We have child's cut is Bambino. Women's cut is the Ragazza. Like it goes on and on.
Wow.
Witness protect. We still have the witness protection program.
And you only play mafia movies in there?
We only play mafia movies.
What gets the most rotation?
Well, The Irishman, because it's 3 hours and 46 minutes long. And I have to remember
also a very good movie.
Yeah. The Irishman, Godfather, Godfather 1, Godfather 2. I have to be really careful on what I play. So anything before 2:00 in the afternoon, I'll play Goodfellas. And then after 2:00, I try to change it to more like PG. Mm-hmm. So then that's when I'll do like The Irishman. My new favorite one is the Standout Guys.
Oh, I don't.
That was done a couple years ago. And then Nitty. I just ran across that movie recently. That was Al Capone's enforcer, and he was a barber for like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Right.
And then when the kids start rolling in, especially like on Saturdays or after the kids get out of school, I like to play Boss Baby.
Right.
Because I don't know any child mafia movies.
Right. I find it curious that you said Godfather 1 and 2. So not 3?
Well, 3 too. Yeah. I just run them consecutively.
Right. Okay.
I don't have time to watch them. So I just put them on, but people love it because they come in, they're like, oh man, I love this movie. This is the best part of this movie. And the sound's not on.
Well, for so many people, it's part of, I know for me, Godfather 1 and 2 are in my top 5. And for most people, they know it by heart. You don't even need the words anyway. You've seen it so many times. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they always say, oh my God, I love this part, or, oh, hey, you're playing my favorite, Godfather movie or like Casino, and they'll start quoting things. And then we also do free beer. So they automatically just feel comfortable.
Wait,
they feel like they're at home.
First of all, do you need a liquor license to have beer at a barbershop? And because I don't think I've experienced that. And secondly, really?
Yes. So you do not need a liquor license to serve beer in a barbershop if it is not included in your haircut. So how that goes with Louie being in the nightclub industry, he knows all the liquor laws. He double checked all this before we started doing it. Mm-hmm. As long as it's not included in your price. So you can't say you can come down and have the Godfather and get a free beer and it's, $25. You can't do that. You can't put free beer anywhere in the price structure. Mm-hmm. You can advertise that you get free beer. And basically what you do is anybody that walks in the door, even if they're not getting a haircut, can have free beer. Because if you were to say, I'm sorry, sir, I can't give you a free beer because you're not getting a service, then you're saying that the beer is included in the service. And that's how they regulate that. So,
okay. So next time I'm in Port Charlotte and I need a little buzz, I can just
technically you can come to a barbershop, hang out, watch gangster movies, drink, and we only limit 2 beers.
I would never take advantage of you like that.
You can have 2 beers and then just not get a service. We have guys that'll come in with their wives all the time, because they want to show the place to their wife, because I don't think their wife believes that they have the coolest barbershop, and they'll come in with their wives and their wives will be like, oh, wow, this place is so nice. And I'll be like, do you want a beer while you wait for your husband? What? I can have a beer? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not getting a service. That's okay.
As we've discussed before, part of, your main impetus for wanting to leave the environment you were in and kind of move into a more community-based environment. But now you've created this environment. Have you gotten to the point where you've achieved the community and family environment that you wanted so badly? How does that work? And do people come in to not even get a haircut, but just to hang out because they know that they'll know people there?
So we have achieved everything we said we were going to.
Excellent.
It's not just business, it's personal. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the family. Experience more than just a haircut. And that's what we're all about. I have my stepson that works there. My stepdaughter, Gianna, is the #1 barber we have. I have a daughter in beauty school right now. We are very community oriented. We won Best New Business and Excellence Award for the Chamber. We are a part of the Chamber. We're part of 2 chambers now. We own the main road that goes to Boca Grande Island, meaning we adopted it. We don't own it. We adopted it. Gasparilla Road is adopted by Wiseguys Barbershop. And what does that mean? It means that we clean the road 4 times a year. We make sure that the road is clean so that we can advertise our barbershop that we adopted that road.
Okay.
We donate to the Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Every year we do a large anniversary event that we donate to a local charity. We have a certain budget set aside every month for charity, for local community charity. So any of the school teams or anybody that's doing a fundraiser in town, all they got to do is drop off the application and what they're looking for at the barbershop. And every month Louie goes through it and puts in, what fits in our budget for that month.
Excellent. And I just want to give a personal shout out to Big Brothers Big Sisters, because I was part of that organization for many years, and that's how I met my wonderful little brother, who's basically a member of my family at this point, Ronald
They're
Story.
amazing.
So
we just cut them a check last week from our bubblegum machine. And they were Louis says that they were in tears when we came by, because we also matched it too. So like everything, we have money on the ceiling that goes to a local charity every year. We throw dollars up on the ceiling. We have a bubblegum machine that's a quarter. So everything that comes out of that at the end of the year, we match and we give to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So, I mean, we're always doing something for charity. I ran for mayor of the day because we don't have a mayor in town. And I donated almost $7,000 to Bikers Against Child Abuse, BACA, because they are new to this area. And I'm a big supporter of child abuse awareness. And so we're always doing something for the community, and we're always getting involved in the community.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So look, life has given you a lot. You're giving back. Does it even feel like work at this point?
No, it doesn't. It's so much fun. We have a blast.
No,
I look forward to going to work every day. And, my customers will say things like, you guys should charge a cover. Because like we have fun. I like to do reels. I like to get my customers involved in doing a little video. They're like, oh, great. Here she goes. We take mug shots of all our clients. We have a mugshot wall and we make them stand up against the wall, and it has all the lines and the height is correct. And we make them stand up against the wall, and we have them do, side, now face the wall, put your hands up. And a lot of them will no That's smiling. Awesome. When you can do a before and after picture and tell them not to smile, they're so much more cooperative. They're like, oh, okay, good. Cause I don't like my smile.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah. And, our Instagrams, our social media, we have, wise guys names. It has to fit the culture. And we have fun. We have so much fun at work. It's, even though I work with the kids and stuff, we have a blast. And Louie's job is to get customers in, and our job is to keep them coming back. And when they walk into our barbershop, they are shocked because they were not expecting that. And when they leave so happy that they tell so many people that majority of our new customers coming in are either from Louie's marketing on Facebook, the whole Wise Guys, theme, or from a referral because their neighbor came in and was like, man, I went to this barbershop. They gave me free beer. They were playing mafia movies. The barber looked like a pinup model and it was so awesome. And I'm definitely going back. And so it just word of mouth just gets around and everybody knows who we are. I can't even go to the grocery store.
No, that's great. And that's exactly what your goal was. And
exactly.
What percentage of your clientele is men versus women?
85.
Why do you prefer servicing men as opposed to women?
Well, we do both. We do have a hairstylist, and we call them mob wives. Okay. We call them mob wives. But we're a barbershop, but we're also a family barbershop. So we do the whole family.
Right.
We do market to women on Mondays because that's Mob Wife Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll really push out marketing to women on Mondays. But yeah, we do the whole family, and the moms love bringing their kids in. When you get compliments from moms through social media, when you get like a review that says my kids had such a great time there and I really love going there, it is so stress-free. I feel like I'm comfortable. I don't feel like I'm in a regular barbershop. That means the world to us. That means that we're doing the right thing.
No, that's great. And some of these people, they come back over and over again, and you call them capos? Capos. Okay. So tell me, what is a capo, and how does someone become a capo?
So our capos are VIPs. Our capos come either weekly or bi-weekly. They get their mugshot done and they go on the wall. So we have this wall full of capos. Have you ever seen like the mafia, like family tree? They have, the Godfather at the top, and then they have their captains at the bottom, which are called capos. That's part of the Cosa Nostra.
Right.
Okay. Which means our thing.
Right.
That's what Cosa Nostra means. That's how our wall looks. It starts with Louie at the top, and then going down the bottom, it starts with all of our guys that are weekly are at the very top, and then all the bi-weekly guys start more towards the bottom. And basically what you have to do is you have to serve your time. So if you are a weekly customer, you have to be coming in 4 times. So for 30 days, you serve a 30-day sentence pretty much. If you are bi-weekly, you have to serve a 60-day sentence. So you have to be committed to coming every week or every 2 weeks. Once you've done that, we take your picture. We give you a free t-shirt, a free Wiseguys t-shirt. We have shirts that say, keep your friends close, but your barber closer.
I love it.
We change it up. It's not just business, it's personal. And then so they get a free t-shirt. Then they also get a discount on all their services and all their product, and they get priority booking. So they can choose their day and their time that they want to come in. And then we have a sit down dinner once a year where we invite them to dinner to like a local restaurant, and just the capos, no wives, no kids. We do have a couple kids capos. But we invite them to dinner, we give them a gift, and we ask their opinion on the barbershop. What do they like? What do they want us to bring back? What would they like us to see us do? And there are VIPs. It doesn't cost anything for them to come in, to be a VIP. They just have to be committed to coming weekly or bi-weekly. And those are our hardcore family. They come to all our events in their Wiseguys shirts. They pull the capo card. They have a card that goes in their wallet. They tell people at the bar they're capos. They live it. They go, I'm a capo.
Is it true that Louie gives some of your customers nicknames?
Oh, he gives every single one of them a nickname. All the capos have their own nickname. Louie's the one who gives it to them. We have like Ricky, Bag of Donuts, Joel, the Gigolo. We have a kid that is, he's the only boy out of quads. So he has 3, triplet sisters. I guess they're quads. There's 4 of them. He's the only boy. So he's Luke 4 times.
So doesn't that force you guys to have to keep track of the names that Louie gives them so he doesn't forget? They're
all on their pictures so people can see their names.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Oh,
and they love it. They come in, they see the photos, and they're like, look, Ricky Bag of Donuts. Why do you call him that? Well, he owns a donut truck.
Wow. It makes for great conversation, great collegiality and community. I know that one thing is that when we talk about, barbershops being like a bastion for, just banter and catching up with folks in the community, whatever. But at the same time, you have, this is not a political podcast. We avoid politics like the plague. And it seems that you've done the same. Do you find that to be a necessary evil in today's time, or that it helps keep things calm and, non-confrontational?
I hate politics. And right. they say all the time in the beauty and barber industry, no politics, no religion. I wish a lot of barbershops would just stick to that. Politics make me so uncomfortable that when people, and this is Florida, they're very political. So they'll start ranting and raving, and I change the subject. I almost make it sound like I'm kind of stupid, like with COVID. They were like, oh, did you hear about this? They're doing this and they're doing that. And, aren't you nervous about COVID? I'm like, what's COVID? And they're like, the pandemic. I'm like, there's a pandemic. You're not that dumb. And it's basically
wait, you said there's a pandemic?
Yeah, like I do that all the time. I'm like, what? No. And then I go, so how are them Yankees?
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm always changing the subject. Like to this day, nobody knows where I stand politically.
I love it. I think that's great. Keep the peace. Particularly, look, it doesn't get much more purple in Florida, and it's right down the middle. And hey, those conversations can be such powder kegs, and that's not the environment that you want to create. So, and I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we, after COVID, we grew. We grew so fast after COVID. It did not affect us one bit. In fact, it made us grow even more and more quicker.
Well, people want to hang out. We've been on lockdown. People want to, get out and hang out and catch up.
Well, we kept things normal.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't make anybody feel uncomfortable. You wanted to wear a mask, wear one. If you wanted Barber to wear one, we're in customer service to service.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever's going to make you feel comfortable.
So that's
but we're not going to demand anybody do anything. We're wise guys. We break the rules. We bend them.
No. So that's interesting. So that's an interesting approach. So you kind of catered to both sides by saying, if you want them to wear a mask, then, you're the customer and the customer's always right. Right. I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that's an interesting approach. I haven't heard it done that way before. Usually it's like one extreme or the other for business owners, but interesting. All right. I like that. Okay. So this has been such a great conversation. I'm going to let you plug your products as well. So, but before we get to that, two things. What is your favorite mobster movie and why?
My favorite mafia movie is Casino, because I grew up in the casinos, and it just relates to home.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I haven't seen it in a while. I love when there's certain movies that I can't forget, because I've seen them so many times, like Godfather 1, Godfather 2. But a movie like Casino, I have seen it more than once, but I don't remember it enough. And I would love to see it again, kind of like it's the first time again, because I basically remember how I felt watching it. Like, this movie is great, So
it's awesome. And then Nitty, I like that one. The Enforcer. I just saw that for the first time recently, and I love it.
Right. Well, I'll check it out. I'll add that to my viewing list. I love the fact that you guys went all in. You didn't half-ass it. You went all in. Like, I think, look, this might be, I don't know how sensitive you are about this next question, but let me I just have to ask. So what do you say to the critic who would say, how could you possibly run a business based on the worst stereotype of your people? Like, I'm from Haiti, right? My family's from Haiti. So if I open up a restaurant called, I don't know, Straight Off the Boat, probably I would have some family members that would probably not be too happy with me. So have you ever gotten that comment or that complaint, or what's your feeling on that?
One time on social media. Okay. First of all, everybody knows that the mafia is about family.
Right.
Everybody knows that. So we don't really have any issues with that. When we first started on Facebook, they kept taking my posts down, and they were saying that it's because we were advertising criminal mischief. I was like, we're not a bunch of gangsters. We're a barbershop.
Okay.
So we did struggle in the beginning with marketing.
Priorities, Facebook, priorities.
Yeah. With organized crime, we're like, wait a minute, we're not criminals here. We're a barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
So it took some time to get that out of the way. Recently, somebody had posted, hey, where can I go to get my kid's haircut on Facebook? And a bunch of people responded with us. And then somebody commented, it's a great place, but they have gangster pictures all over the wall and like fake gun merch. Like, we have some of the, gun props from like Goodfellas and stuff on the wall, like in cases. And we have the mugshot wall and stuff like that. So this lady goes, it's a really cool place, but it might lead your child down a different path. And everybody went off on her and was like, we're talking about a 2-year-old. I don't think they know who mafia gangsters are.
Right. Right.
And everybody was like kind of battling her, like, what are you talking about? That's the coolest place ever. And it's like a museum. And but that was the only problem we had. Other than that, people embrace the mafia culture. They embrace it.
Well, certainly a lot of good movies have come out of it, and a lot of good food. And
Yeah. And Italians, you don't even have to be Italian. Everybody has a favorite gangster movie, a favorite mafia movie.
Right. My personal one is Godfather 1, which is, a boring answer, but it's the truth. It's as close to perfection. Yeah. I mean, it's as close to perfection as you can get. And so in closing, I want to know, how do we find out where do I find these American Idol and Voice and The Voice auditions? How do I hear you sing? And
Well, you're not going to find any of my auditions online unless you watch season 7 of The Voice, like all the way through. You can see me like on the bus. You can see me in line. I have my American Idol number at the shop, up on the shelf. I did American Idol in 2007 with David Cook and David Archuleta. I went to Hollywood. I was going through some family drama, and I wasn't willing to air out all my dirty laundry on TV. So they decided to send me home. The Voice, I've auditioned a couple times, never really got past the second or third audition. I do a lot of contests here in town. I judge a lot of the contests here in town, and I'm always singing behind the chair.
I can imagine. When you've auditioned for these shows, what have been your go-to songs?
So when I did American Idol, I actually did Mustang Sally by Wilson Pickett.
Okay. All right.
I like to take guy songs and turn them into total chick rocking songs.
Okay. That's clever. All right. And what about on The Voice?
On The Voice, I did Sweet Child of Mine.
Oh, whoa, man. Love that song. One of my favorite songs of all time. That's great.
I win a lot of contests with that one.
Oh, that's sweet. And I'm a huge, I mean, when I say huge, I'm a huge karaoke fan. I do karaoke whenever I can. I am not a good singer. I'm actually a very good rapper, but I also sing only what's right in my very thin wheelhouse.
I can rap.
You can rap?
Oh yeah, I can totally rap.
Oh, wow. All right. I'd love to see that. Look, I kid you not. Next time I'm in Port Charlotte, I'm going to get to meet Louie, and we're going to do some karaoke, and I'll even get a haircut.
There you go. And a beer.
And a beer. Right. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get 2. All right. I'm going to get my money's worth, or my,
and
and
a shakedown.
And, right. Exactly.
Which is our boosting powder with our Costa Nostra men's grooming.
Oh, I like that. Okay. Excellent. All right. So let's talk. We're talking about products. So this is a segue into plug time. It's plug time. So I know you've got your grooming products, and tell us where to get that, and tell us where to find you on social media. The stage is yours, literally.
All right. Well, we came out with our own product line because I love product. I love doing product. Came out with our own product line called Costa Nostra Men's Grooming for used guys. Okay, so now I'm going to break out my Brooklyn accent and not my New Mexican accent. I've been working on this. Okay, so we have 4 products. We have the Bada Bing and the Bada Boom. That's the shampoo and the conditioner. Now, all of this has been designed by Louie. This is all his baby. This is his baby. Mm-hmm. We have the Initiation, which is a light hold matte pomade. It's usually the first product you get men to use. That's why it's called Initiation. Mm-hmm. We have the Shakedown, which is a boost powder. It helps you keep those like faux hawks and crazy bedhead hair. And it's technically sea salt powder grounded up. And so we call that the Shakedown because you shake it on your head. The Bada Bing and the Bada Boom, those are my favorite. They're not many men buy shampoos, so they're not like our number one sellers, but it's my favorite line for someone who's like buying a house and you want to give them a gift for their housewarming, or like a uncle that's Italian, or anyone who likes mafia stuff, or anyone from Brooklyn or from New York, because it's all in Brooklynese. So I'm going to just read it to you really quickly because I've memorized these. The Bada Bing. That energizing peppermint scent will pop you in the nose so you know the shampoo is getting the job done. Tea tree oil and argan oil in the sauce too. They take that oily buildup and that dead skin to the drain to sleep with the fishes, if you know what I'm saying. It's a made antifungal and antibacterial cuisine that works hard to whack mechanisms that sit on your stoop all day, causing problems like flaky skin and dandruff. And there ain't no parabens neither. Lather with some hair, time for some spring cleaning, bada bing. How not to use. It's not the Sunday sauce, so don't put it in your mouth or put it in your eye or your other eye.
Bravo.
So that's our Costa Nostra men's grooming line. It's also involved into my mob wife creation, so you can find that stuff there too. We love the Yankees. We give away Yankees and we love the Rays too, believe it or not. And so we give away free tickets twice a year, 2 to our capos, 2 to any other customer, front row at Tropicana to see the Yankees. We give them away every year. We go to every Yankee game. We have Rays players that come into the shop. And so I do Yankee Italian Stallions merchandise. You can find that on my Costa Nostra men's grooming line. In fact, I just saw one of them on TV the other day while watching the Yankees game. Somebody was wearing my shirt. We have like all sorts of mafia merch on the Costa Nostra men's grooming line. It's fun. I'm having fun with that. I get to design all the stuff.
And where can people go online and on social media to find out more about your barbershop and your product lines and all this stuff?
You got it. So for the barbershop, Wiseguys Barbershops, that's with an S, both plural, .com. Okay. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can find me at Ragazza.barber on Instagram. That's where I do a lot of my fun videos. If you're looking into marketing, if you're looking into marketing or branding, you got to follow Louie at itsme.louieg. He does a lot of videos on marketing and branding, not just for the barber industry. For our men's grooming line, you can go to, Costa Nostra mensgrooming.com. You can also find us on Instagram at Costa Nostra Men's Grooming. My dog's Yayo. You know what Yayo means, right?
Yes, I do. I've seen Scarface.
She's white. She's a white boxer.
Okay.
and Benny, he's our male boxer because the Yayos bring the Bennies.
Right.
Yeah. See the whole mafia theme here?
I got it.
They have their own TikTok and Instagram as well, Yayo and Benny. And hopefully soon we'll have puppies. Fantastic.
Well, listen, this was beyond entertaining. I'm a little speechless. I just love the way you guys have done a deep dive and forgive me, my producer, but given notes about just going all in on this motif and this theme and bringing people in to just have a good time. And I think the thing that stands out to me the most is that you said it doesn't even feel like work. And that's really what it comes down to. And I hope that you've inspired some people to, pursue their passion and their dream and what they love. And you're further proof of, it's possible to make a living doing what you love. And also the importance of having a partner where, you're bringing things to the table in a unified, productive way. I just think there's a lot to unpack here. And I really appreciate you for that.
Thank you. I have to put that out there for any barbershop owners or barbers out there is I couldn't do all this without Louie. I can't do the marketing and, be the main barber at the same time. I would just be burnt out. And community is the most important thing to growing. And customer service, integrity, and saying you'll do what you're going to do. And remember, we're in the service industry to service.
Well, there you go. You hear that, Louie? Your girl's giving you your flowers, man. So appreciation. People need to hear that from the ones they love. So that's great. You did good. You did good, brother. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And
I appreciate you.
I look forward to following your journey. This has been great. I really appreciate the talk.
It's only the beginning, honey. It's only the beginning.
All right. Take care.
Thank you so much.
So there you go, Fresh Mixers. So what did I tell you? That was fun. I mean, I can't think about any way in which they could have taken a deeper dive into this whole mobster, Cosa Nostra motif for their barbershop. They're doing all the things. And Candace was so effulgent and so bubbly and just so friendly. And I just loved her approach and her personality and her honesty, quite frankly. And speaking of honesty, I just wanted to touch on this because this fresh take, I honestly don't know when the next opportunity will arise for me to bring up something that came up in this conversation and just make a quick comment on it, which is, I know what it's like to be the other in school, and Candace knows what that's like too. She went to school being the only Hispanic person in her class, and it's a double-edged sword because on the one hand, I happen to have been very blessed when I grew up in Boca Raton, and my all my friends were amazing. I'm still friends with so many of them today, and treated me very well, even though I was the only Black kid in school. I was treated so well for the most part, to such a point where sometimes I'll even just forget that I was Black. And I look in the mirror when I went to the bathroom, I'll be like, oh, yeah, you're the Black kid. So, but then you also, there are moments, and they're inevitable, where you feel like the other, and there's no way to avoid it. And sometimes I think to myself, what could my, people around me have done at the time? But we're all just kids. I mean, and this was the 80s, and nobody really got it. And I guess the easiest way that for me to get people to understand is, regardless of how well you're treated, regardless, just imagine that you went to a school and you're the only white kid at an all Black school. Just let that marinate for just a minute. And you spent, up until you went to high school, that was your life. And it doesn't matter how well you were treated, you would feel different. Now, I had to be forced to be immersed and learn about their way of life and their culture and where they lived, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that one thing that probably would have helped is if they had just asked me anything about me, my family, I'm from Haiti. There's a lot that I would love to share. So it's not placing blame. It's just about, giving some perspective. And I think that when Candace brought up that experience that she had, it really resonated with me. I get it, girl. I get it. All right. But at the end of the day, this is not a sob story. It's just kind of adding some perspective on that point there. Now, what I really wanted to talk about in this fresh take is, here we go. We in episode 1, we interviewed Scott Firester, who's the husband of Mystic Michaela. He's the man behind the scenes, and they work together as husband and wife. And here again, we have another example of a power couple doing things together, and they have capitalized on their synergies. So again, it's just, when you're a couple, if you're going to go into business together, you have to have the right personalities for it, and you have to have the synergy to make the product greater than the sum of its parts, ideally. Okay. And you have to get along, right? But in this situation, it seems to be working beautifully and seamlessly because he's got the marketing talent and she's got the actual talent, the skill of actually cutting people's hair. So it looks like that's working beautifully. You can feel the love in the interview that she has for Louie. And it did remind me directly of the first interview we had with Scott Firester in episode 1. And it just highlights how, I'll give you an example. So we were at Podfest, and Amber mentioned this in the intro. And producer Jaime, my sister, and her running partner, Glenn the Geek, who's very famous in the podcast world, they had a seminar on choosing the right co-host. And not to get too much into the weeds, but part of what they suggested is, first of all, don't be too much alike, okay, because that gets boring to the audience. And also work off each other's strengths. Take advantage of each other's strengths. So if someone's a better writer, then have that person write. If someone's a better interviewer, have that person interview. Do that. And this is another example of, clearly Candace stays in her lane and Louie stays in his lane. He does the marketing, she does the cutting, and I'm quite sure she is the one that, primarily drives, who do they hire to be other barbers and hairstylists there. Now I know the difference between the two, et cetera, et cetera. So, work off each other's strengths. If you're going to do anything as a partnership, whether it's, husband and wife or as friends, and you're starting a business, this is another example of how that should work. This is an example of what to do. Okay, that's my fresh take. All right, so can't wait for you to join us for another episode of the Fresh Mix Podcast. Fresh Mixers, see you soon. For details and show notes about today's show and our guest, go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback, both on today's guest and on my fresh take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for super fans of their shows like Florida's Fresh Mix. So we all look forward to hanging out in there with you. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments, get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. Complain about Florida's, flash flooding and all the rain we get. I'm not talking about just hurricanes. I'm talking about just this past week, we had 2 days of straight rain and everything gets flooded and they have to redo all the streets to make sure the water drains the right way. You can't even walk outside. But you know what? I'm not going to complain that bad because I'd rather have my hurricanes, which are predictable, than the tornadoes for some of y'all in the Midwest and the earthquakes for y'all out on the West Coast. Those happen without warning, and I'd rather get a little wet. That's fine. And be warm. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching who's fresh in the Florida Mix with Florida's Fresh Mix Podcast.
Flintstone Media has been the digital messaging bedrock of several brands and businesses, serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house and consultancy firm for over 6 years. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. From show development and setup through recording and distribution, work with a leader in the industry and add a new podcast to your brand's content offerings. That's flintstonemedia.com.